r/AskReddit. Which is the worst single decision in history ever made by a person? Mao Zedong. Pest campaign. He basically told his nation to take pots and pans to kill all the sparrows. However, the ecosystem was disturbed and the locust population skyrocketed. Seeds. He thought that planting seeds 1 meter in the ground would result in greater roots and better harvest. He also thought that putting tons of seeds in one compact area would cause a better harvest. All the seeds died, however. Around 30 million or so died from famine under his rule. Hey, look at the other nations industrializing. Let's smelt all our metal to build better infrastructure. What? It creates pig iron, which is super unstable and impure, therefore being ultimately useless? Oops. Mao. My great-great-grandfather, a carpenter, did some work for a poor painter in the neighborhood. The painter had no money, so he offered either a bottle of wine or a painting. My great-great-grandfather chose the wine. The painter was Edvard Munch, and the painting would have been worth millions upon millions today, or even just a few decades later, if translated to today's money. Edit. Reply to the first guy who pointed it out. True. Doesn't really qualify. I guess what makes a decision really bad is when you should be able to see the consequences. Radcliffe Line. The process to divide India and Pakistan boundary in 1947 was done hastily and without major considerations to local populace religion. Radcliffe was not a geography guy and majorly messed up the process. Millions died. Link: https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/Radcliffe_line. Well, the decision of Inalchuk, the governor of the Khwarezmian city of Otra, to attack Genghis Khan's trade caravan was pretty bad. Khan was famous as a ruthless warlord. Not the sort of guy you want to piss off. But maybe they could have got away with it. Genghis sent 3 ambassadors to negotiate a settlement. Which is when Muhammad I, the Shah of Khwarezm, made the really bad decision to kill one of these ambassadors and send the other 2 back without their beards as a sign of humiliation. Genghis Khan was so enraged he assembled an army and destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire. Wiped out every town they had. He even rerouted a river to wipe out the village where the Shah was born, wiping it off the map. By 1120 there wasn't much of anything left. So, both Inalchuk or Muhammad I of Khwarezm qualify. Take your pick. https://megamasters.com/bad-decisions-provoking-genghis-khan/ When Mr. Hans tried to bang that horse. A little background. Not the worst in the world, but apparently my family owned a little town west of Kent, UK. My great-great-great-grandfather got plastered one night and gambled it all away. That one time Nintendo had a partnership with Sony to develop a CD-based console, but in the end changed their mind and kicked Sony out cause they decided to stick with cartridges. Sony then thought, screw this. We'll make our own console. With blackjack and hookers, and created the PlayStation as a fuck you towards Nintendo. Hey, let's create a coffee machine that uses a single-use plastic cup for every cup of coffee or tea. How bad can the trash from that really be? I actually read that the creator of the K-Cup, John Sylvan, regrets inventing the pod system. How about the guy who bought 20,000 Albanian slaves, brought them to Cairo, trained them to be the greatest warriors of their time, and then got overthrown by said slave warriors because they were so well trained? https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Mamluk. Time Suck podcast about Napoleon Bonaparte is where I got this from. It's a good one if you have an hour to listen. https://open.spotify.com/episode/2qfhsc4pzigwzbscdwr2r?C3hpigwsxromh9la. Alcibiades was considered a traitor in Athens for leading his men to death. A traitor in Sparta because he got the queen to cheat on the king with him, and a traitor in Persia after including them in a war. Edit. So I did a little bit of info, and the switching sides and stealing statues dicks are also true, plus he is a bisexual. Not like there is anything wrong with bisexuality. Kaiser Wilhelm II firing Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck had a plan. He always has a plan. But not when an incompetent Kaiser boots him out of his means of putting his plans into action. Bismarck had everything set up perfectly. But Wilhelm II decided to fuck up everything he had set up. And got into World War I for it. Edit. If you want to learn more about the greatest Chad in European history since Voltaire, I highly recommend watching this series, which goes over Bismarck pretty well. Fact Gold Kindle Strangler. The decision by the Scottish to invade England during Black Death must be up there. Well, having just watched Chernobyl. Alright gentlemen, we've successfully fended off the Greeks for 10 years. Our great city of Troy still stands. If we keep this up, surely they will realize the siege is fruitless and return home before long. Yo captain, there's this big ass wooden horse outside. Oh rad, bring it in. The Donner Party of 90 pioneers choosing to take a shortcut when heading west from Illinois to California in 1846. Said shortcut led to them getting trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains and resorting to cannibalism. Gerald Ratner talking shit about his own business. He was ousted and the firm almost collapsed before restructuring and rebranding. Thomas Midgley Jr. can lay claim to 3. First, he discovered and helped popularize the use of lead in petrol gasoline, causing unimaginable harm to the atmosphere and our brains. He contracted lead poisoning when working on the project, but apparently neglected to draw any conclusions from this. Second, he led the team that discovered Freon, the first chlorofluorocarbon, and helped popularize the use of CFCs in refrigeration and industrial applications, causing further unimaginable harm to the atmosphere. It's suggested that he had a greater impact on the atmosphere than any other single person in history. As for the third, well, straight from Wikipedia. In 1940, at the age of 51, Midgley contracted poliomyelitis, which left him severely disabled. He devised an elaborate system of ropes and pulleys to lift himself out of bed. In 1944, he became entangled in the device and died of strangulation. Brutus decided to join Cassius in murdering the dictatorial tyrant, Caesar. The reason? They suspected his intent to become a king, which then started a chain of events leading to his adopted son Caesar becoming a military dictator without equal, having all the powers of a king without being called one. When this Caesar Augustus dies, his name and title is passed on for the next 400 years almost like you would a crown. Monarchies then returned all over Europe, in the style of Augustus Caesar. And so, the decision of Brutus to join the conspiracy in effect changed all of Western civilization for the next 1900 years to adopt the very political style he wanted to avoid. It would not be until the 1770s when America and later France would begin revolting and experimenting with democracies and republics. Mao Zedong's revolutionary campaign, the Great Leap Forward, resulting in millions of people starving to death. Whoever said the world's biggest MMO RuneScape should remove the wilderness and free trade? They threw a literal fortune down the drain just because they didn't understand their own product. Let's invade Russia must somewhere up the list. Twice. Going up against a Sicilian when death is on the line. Alan Savory, the ecologist who killed 40,000 elephants because it was believed that grazing was causing the desertification of Africa, only to find out later that elephants were essential to prevent desertification. Either the Great Leap Forward or the time I had gas station sushi. Abraham Lincoln decided to attend a public theater while surrounded by enemies. Hitler, who wants to fight a two-front war. Nokia, yes so this phone will kill you bot, developed first smartphone way before Apple, but did not believe them to be the future. They just continued developing the old style phones. The first human by deciding to not live in a tree. Jessica Biel not naming her child Batmo. Murdoch double-crossing Rambo. Obviously. Anatoly Dyatlov making sure with every step that reactor 4 at Chernobyl exploded in 1986. stealing John Wick's car and killing his dog. 299 total kills and counting. When Bill Murray ate that gas station egg salad sandwich. Now You See Me sequel not being called Now You Don't. 2005. Reddit was launched. Eastman Kodak deciding not to go forward with their own newly invented digital cameras and instead sticking with film because it made them so much money at the time. The guy that sold the bottling rights for Coca-Cola for $1 and never even made the guy pay the $1. https://www.coca-cola-company.com/stories/when-coke-bot-l. Maybe not the worst, but maybe Ronald Wayne. He was a co-founder of Apple along with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in 1976. Just 12 days after forming the company, he sold his shares for $800. He owned 10% of the company, which would be worth $80 billion today. Source: don't know how accurate this is, but the story still stands. Hong Xiuquan declared the typing rebellion after he had a nervous breakdown from failing the imperial examinations. He proclaimed that he was the brother of Jesus Christ. 20-30 million people died. Maybe the worst business decision ever made was by Xerox with their Alto computer. Xerox invented the graphical interface modern computers use. Desktop, folders, copy-paste, etc. They basically invented the modern computer in the 70s. But the problem was, the people in charge at the time were businessmen without any technical knowledge, so they didn't realize what they had. They did nothing with it and gave it away to universities and showed other companies. The famous story is that Steve Jobs saw this and within 5 minutes realized this was the way computers would work in the future. He copied it. Because Xerox didn't patent their invention and didn't do anything with it, and the rest is history. Xerox could have been Apple or Microsoft. Or both. They could have had a monopoly on the entire PC industry. Almost every company uses Windows in their offices. I think 80 or 90% of consumers uses Windows. That could have been Xerox. They had the tech maybe 10 years before anyone else. They could have been the most valuable company of all time, but they just gave it away. If you want to get nothing in return, you can like and join my Discord. There is a link in the description.